Penguin Random House Canada presents Motorcycles and Sweetgrass by Drew Hayden Taylor. Read for you by the author. 101 Things to Do with an Indian Chief. Disclaimer. The author has never been, nor probably ever will be, in the employ of the Indian Motorcycle Company. While confessing to being an Indian, the feathered, not the dot kind, the author reluctantly admits it is unlikely he will ever own an Indian, the internal combustion variety, the feathered, or the dot kind. This book is dedicated to the memory of my mother, Fritzie Taylor, who always had time for my stories. Heartbreaker, soul shaker, I've been told about you. Steamroller, midnight stroller, what they've been saying must be true. Now you're messin' with a son of a bitch. Hair of the Dog, Nazareth. Prologue. Hey, want to hear a good story? Supposedly it's a true one. It's a long story, but it goes something like this. Somewhere out there, on a reserve that is closer than you think, but still a bit too far to walk to, lived a young Ojibwe boy. Though this is not his story, he is part of it. As all good tales do, this one begins far in the past, but not so far back that you would have forgotten about it. There was too much splashing on the lake. It was inconsiderate and downright unfriendly. The minnows were not happy, same with the perch, the rockfish, and especially the lone sunfish that called the water near the two sunken cedar trees his home. The other fish were just passing through, but for the sunfish, this was a serious intrusion of privacy. Those creatures from above the waterline had been there all afternoon creating havoc. And the sunfish hated havoc. It was counterproductive to a sunfish's life. For unfathomable reasons, these large, rude, scaleless, air-breathing things had jumped off his half-buried trees, creating a lingering cloud of silt. The other fish had left, looking for quieter spots to contemplate the age-old aquatic question, whether the lake was half full or half empty. But this was the sunfish's home, and he watched from a distance as the creatures splashed and dove as if they owned the place. There was nothing he could do. He was just a sunfish, and they were people. And occasionally, people ate sunfish. It's hard to lodge a complaint, given that balance of power. Besides, there was something familiar about the man. The sunfish was sure he had come across him, but where, the sunfish couldn't say. The woman, barely into the second half of her teens, swam naked through the water. As the man, a tad older but also naked, watched her, he thought about who had made this creature. Certain cultures believed the Creator made man in his own image, but the Anishnawbe language was not hung up on gender. If the Creator had made this woman in her own image, she was an astonishingly beautiful 5'6" lean Anishnawbe woman. The dappled sunlight, the smell of pine and cedar, the tingling feel of the cool, clear lake. It doesn't get much better than this, he thought. And he'd been around. Wherever around was, he'd been there. Twice, and had long ago lost the t-shirt. The two had been there all afternoon, and if either could have had their way, they would have been there forever. But that was not to be. "What are you thinking?" came the female voice across the water, speaking in an ancient language. He just smiled. "No, tell me, what are you thinking?" The man pondered for a moment, but just as he was about to speak, he dove into the water quick as a dragonfly. Treading water, hair spread, she scanned the surface of the lake in all directions. Becoming anxious, she called out to him, "Stop that! Come back!" But the only response was a nearby loon's call. She began to panic. No one could hold their breath that long. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw a hawk make its way across the sky. The loon, mirroring her concern, called again. "Hey!" she yelled, and then, "Hey, where?" Suddenly she was gone. Silence returned, and the hawk eyed the bubbles rising to the surface. 2 human bodies came crashing through the surface, gasping for air, and then exploding with laughter. "I scared you, didn't I?" the man asked roguishly. The light cutting through the forest canopy dappled on the man's face and danced in his brown eyes. The girl, wiping the hair back from her face, muttered, "I hate it when you do things like that. What are you, half fish?" "On occasion." The girl backpedaled a meter or so away from the man. "Say you're sorry." "What?" "Say you're sorry, now." The man was perplexed. "Or what?" "Oh, nothing. I just want you to say you're sorry." "All right, if it'll make you happy, I'm sorry. I am so sorry," the man was now yelling. "I am so incredibly sorry." "How's that?" His voice echoed across the water and back again, gradually growing more distant. "Hear that? That makes me 3 times as sorry." The girl smiled. "Thank you. It's not often you find a man who takes orders so easily." Swimming closer, the man rolled over onto his back. "You'll find I'm a little different from most men. You know, this is how sea otters eat. They put clams and crabs and things like that on their stomach and crack them open with a rock using their bellies like a big wooden kitchen table." "What are sea otters?" "Oh, they live way out west in the ocean." "You know what an ocean is?" The girl nodded. "They're kind of like the otters around here, only different. And have funny mustaches." "Otters have mustaches? Like white people?" The girl watched the man float lazily around her. "You're lying. You have to be. The things you've told me. But I love your story about squirrels that can fly. You've traveled a lot, haven't you?" "A bit, here and there, and they don't fly, silly. They glide." "This is going to be my first trip anywhere. I've never been more than a few hours' walk from home," she said. The man started treading. His eyes forced their way into hers. "Then don't go." The girl looked away. "I don't have a choice." "Everybody has a choice." The secluded bay grew a little chillier, and the girl trembled in the water. "You don't know white people. They don't take no for an answer. My parents tried, but—" The man wasn't listening. "There's supposed to be a thunderstorm tomorrow. A big one." "There is? How do you know?" "I just do. I know how much you love thunderstorms, with the lightning crisscrossing the sky and the booming thunder shaking the cups in your mother's cupboard. It's like the sky is waking everybody up," she said. "Well, this one is supposed to be the biggest of the summer." "How do you—" "I just do. I had to call in a few favors, though. There's that place at the top of Bear Hill where we can sit and watch. The lightning will leave us alone. We have an agreement, the lightning and I." "Don't be silly," she said. He took her hand. "I'm not being silly. We can sit there all night watching it. It will be our storm." The girl struggled to answer the man. "I can't. You know that." The man, now silent and brooding, looked away. His eyes were on the far shore, and yet they weren't. "If you loved me—" "I do, but—" Now the girl was getting anxious. This was not how she wanted to spend their final day together. Tomorrow she would be sent away to be educated in one of those big places white people like to build. Older than most of the local kids sent off, she'd managed to remain hidden from the white man's so-called education. But her father had died, and her mother had 7 other kids to feed, and she worked all the time. So being the oldest, she was a prime candidate for the school. The local on-reserve school had taught her to read and speak English, but it could only take kids so far, which is why the Canadian government had built these other schools where their welfare would be better maintained than on our reserve. Manifest destiny, as the white people to the south believed, dictated that this little Anishnawbe girl be removed from her home and sent away to be taught about the Battle of Hastings, dangling participles, and how to draw a pie chart. For a year or two anyway, starting tomorrow. And this man, who'd come into her life a few months ago, was about to be left behind. "It's your new boyfriend, isn't it?" "What do women see in him?" the man asked.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?